of Monsters and Kings, a fantasy story by Lars Siegel. Chapter 8, The Chronicler, from the records of Crow Menace, member of the Council of Mages, Chronicler of the Island of Flow. Volume 2, The History of Flow, compiled from the writings and eyewitness account of the dwarven mage Florence Stormbinder, and the records and testimonies of surviving veterans of the 19th Legion. Forward, as the Chronicler of the Island of Flow, and under oath as a member of the Council of Mages, it is my duty, Crow Menace, to preserve and recount the history of Flow truthfully. Chapter 1, The Rift and the Battle for Flow. The year is 1033. High King Servus Rex, His Majesty and Supreme Ruler of the Empire, requested an audience with the Dwarven Kingdom on the Island of Flow. The exact reasons for this audience are not entirely clear. The Empire's records are highly classified, and even we mages are forbidden from accessing them. However, according to Florin's writings, the Empire's envoy demanded a specific artifact that was considered sacred by the dwarves. Not only did they demand its handover, but they also required the dwarves to fight on other fronts for the Empire. The leader of the Dwarven Enclave, the legendary King Dal, refused both requests. He would neither surrender the artifact nor align himself with interests that did not benefit his people. The dwarves governed themselves and would never allow decisions to be made over their heads. Though they respectfully let the envoy leave and treated him as an honored guest, King Dal knew full well what would come next. He was aware that King Servus Rex was not a man of patience or mercy. The dwarves of the Ice Peaks had also bled for remaining loyal to their traditions. As the envoy left the island, King Dal convened his closest advisors, his most capable commanders, warriors, and the 4 renowned dwarven mages. Their magic was extraordinary. It was said they breathed life into Flow's natural world. The Southern Grove and the Wonderwood were vibrant, thriving places thanks to their magic. The animals were healthy, and the plants flourished everywhere. The dwarven mages were even credited with causing a miraculous event in the Southern Grove, infusing the land with so much magic that the forest itself became sentient. Plants and especially the local mushrooms could walk and communicate. King Dal and his trusted council devised a defense strategy. The dwarves planned to make their stand at the narrow northern point of the island. If the Imperial army entered through the Wonderwood, it would be a bottleneck. There would be no way forward or back. To the left was Crystal Lake, and to the right, the cliffs above the Great Sea. Should the battle not be won there, the dwarves could still retreat to the walls of Krakdal, their mountain stronghold nestled high in the Sky Spike Mountains, the dwarves' ancestral home. Exactly 1 month later, the human king gave the order to attack and declared war on the dwarves. To conquer the Island of Flow, the Empire chose one of its most renowned legions, the 19th Legion, already battle-tested in the Western lands against the Orcs. Their commander was Bertram Stormwater, a knight from the Heartlands and native of Falkenwald. The Stormwater family was revered in the Empire, known for its unwavering sense of duty and honor. Bertram had already earned a name for himself fighting the Orcs. He was the perfect candidate for the military campaign on Flow. The waves roared as the war galleons of the 19th Legion crossed the sea toward the island. The men took the stormy sea as a good omen. Bertram certainly lived up to the name Stormwater. The army landed on the western coast in the sleepy port town of Schönwacht. Once a peaceful trade hub between dwarves and humans, it now saw no dwarves. The town quickly became a strategic base for the Imperial forces. Knowing this would be a brutal campaign, Bertram ordered a detachment of soldiers to establish a field hospital behind the lines in the western region behind the Sky Spike Mountains and hidden within the Borkenwald. He also ordered the construction of a lighthouse to guide supply and medical ships. This outpost was dubbed Schönwacht, the Beautiful Watch, by the men who knew it as either a haven for the wounded or a place to dream, thanks to its white beaches. The supply route would run through Schönwacht. More ships arrived, bringing the full strength of the Legion. Once assembled, 20,000 infantry and 6,000 cavalrymen marched north. Dwarven scouts quickly spotted the advancing army and alerted King Dal. Vastly outnumbered, the dwarves had no choice but to seek an ally. With chests of golden trinkets, the dwarves climbed the snowy peaks of the sky spikes to the cave of Flamdrung, a mighty dragon. In fierce winds and bitter cold, King Dal entered the cave alone to negotiate. He struck a deal. The dragon would fight for the dwarves in defense of their shared homeland. Dal knew this pact would bring ruin, but he had no choice. Only such power could turn the tide. King Dal! What a pleasant surprise. I come heavy-hearted. Were it not for our survival, I would not stand before you today. Ha ha ha. Fate brings us together. Meanwhile, the empire was not idle. The soldiers built a stone fortress with astonishing speed. Within a week it stood, serving as a command center. Horses drank from Crystal Lake, while soldiers camped around the stronghold, awaiting orders. Commander Stormwater devised a plan: march quickly through the Wonderwood and lay siege to Crackdall. A direct assault uphill would cost too many lives. Instead, he hoped a prolonged siege would starve the dwarves into surrender. Men of the Empire, hear me. We stand on foreign soil, the land of the dwarves. We are far from home, from our families. But the dwarves have chosen defiance. They threaten our empire and must be dealt with as enemies. Now follow me into battle. For the king and the Holy Empire, charge! Bertram drew his family sword. His horse reared up, and the army roared. They marched into the Wonderwood. The forest floor was soft, the canopy thick, but the men made fast progress. It felt like a mere stroll through an enchanted forest, its beauty unlike anything they had ever seen. A wildfire of messages spread among the dwarven scouts. The enemy had entered the forest. Florin's Stormbinder was ordered to send the signal. With heavy heart, he summoned a magical flare, knowing it would call the dragon, but also doom the beloved forest. The glowing spell shot into the sky. From the highest peak, the dragon Flamdrung spread his wings and roared. He launched himself into the sky, soared past Cracked Dole, and over the advancing Imperial army. The soldiers first heard only sounds. Then the light vanished as shadows consumed the forest. Then came the fire. The dragon's breath engulfed the forest. With each flame, 100 soldiers perished. The fire peeled flesh from bone. Screams rang through the inferno. The dragon dove into the canopy. Trees were uprooted under his massive claws. His tail swept through the burning woods. Bertram tried to rally his men, forming a strike force. The cavalry charged with lances, urging their terrified horses forward. Hooves thundered, arrows flew, but the dragon's scales held firm. The beast rampaged through the army. Fire and death followed in its wake. Soldiers were scattered, desperate to shield themselves and help the wounded. But it was in vain. The Wonderwood became a hellscape. Smoke blackened the sky. No one had seen such devastation. Even Bertram, hardened by many battles, was shaken. Blindly he mounted his horse, grabbed a lance, and cried, "For the king!" A few brave souls followed. Through choking smoke, Bertram could only guess the dragon's position from the flashes of fire. Suddenly he burst into a clearing. Charging full speed, he drove his lance under the dragon's wing, piercing its flank. The dragon howled, swiping the knight off his horse. Bertram had wounded the dragon. The beast took to the air. The soldiers cheered wildly. Bertram's bravery gave them hope. But then came the sound of horns echoing in the distance. The dwarves had arrived to finish what the dragon had begun. They attacked from two sides. A brutal melee ensued. Hammers and axes clashed with swords and shields. Surrounded, the 19th Legion fought desperately, but the dwarves cut them down one by one. Bertram Stormwater fell alongside his men. The dwarves had won, but both sides suffered heavy losses. The Wonderwood was utterly destroyed and forever lost its name. From that day forth, it was only known as the Forest of the Dead. Many lives were lost that fateful day, but the dwarves had defended their home.